What's going on, everybody? Painblade back here again from server 1 representing ISE. Guys, thank you so much again for the 4K submissions and the comments, and the winner ended up being an All Akatsuki team for Arena. So here we go. I'm going to deliver that. I've gone ahead and created an Akatsuki team. I'm going to show you guys and explain to you guys why I put each Akatsuki where they are. I will say this right away though. If the Akatsuki team did not have the power creep characters, this team would not be viable. So I just want to make that absolutely clear. But with the new power creep characters, because half of them are power creep actually, and majority, if not all of them actually, are AoE units, I think actually all of them are, this would not have worked. So I want to prove a couple things to you here. Number one, Sai, just in general, Sai, the character, breaks the game. Okay, if you don't have Sai in the team, it doesn't mean you can't win. You just have to outspeed your opponent and outpower your opponent. Now, outpowering your opponent doesn't mean your total power has to be more. Just certain shinobi have to have more power and more abilities to nuke more often, right? Okay, so I'm going to show you guys what I did here. So the first thing I did is I put together the team. The team itself looks like as follows, all right? If you go to edit team, it's going to be my team 5. Yeah, there we go. So I've got Kakazu, Pain, and Itachi. As you can see here, the biggest one here is Itachi. Now, I wanted to nuke with him, obviously, but from watching the videos, and I actually have watched both fights, I've done 2 of them, he actually ended up tanking and dying each time. But that's okay. Like, at least he kept these 2 alive. Now, Kakazu's in the front because his AoE damage actually ends up doing more damage if the opponent has 50% HP or more. So you want to make sure he gets that off first before the opponent loses too much HP. That way he nukes that much harder, right? So he's there. Pain is actually a fantastic UR for both buffing and either from a defensive side and an offensive side. So whether he kills or he doesn't kill, his buffs will go off. Also, he's a fantastic nuke because he has insane crit damage and crit rate. See, he's also like Hebi and Naruto SMN, where he does crit rate up first before he does his jutsu. So this is a pure nuke team, and that's kind of what I built it for. Itachi here would have been amazing at nuking if he had survived, and then every time he kills an opponent, he actually gets insane buffs through his trait LB2, right? So unfortunately we didn't get to see that, but that's fine. Now the second team is my pure AoE buff team. So Itachi here is meant to buff and to pretty much nuke anything in sight. He gives crit rate, attack, crit damage, and he gives guard rate up. So he gives this squad here a little bit of survivability, right? On the other hand, Deidara pretty much is where all the damage is going to come from. He is meant to allow some of these units to die. For example, this Sasori is here strictly just to die, and oddly enough, he didn't die once. But he's there to die. If he does die, what ends up happening is you end up getting defense down on the opponents, and then at the same time, every time an ally dies, Deidara Sublime ends up getting his crit damage and his crit rate up, and he pretty much just nukes like crazy. So, unfortunately, we didn't get to see that, but bringing Sasori in is a great idea to cause defense down on everybody, and it's a significant amount. We're talking about minus 75%, so everybody's going to hit way harder, right? And speaking of defense down, I have this Deidara down here who does the same thing. So you bring in Toby for a stun, right? He does stun and burn, so that instantly gives you 2 status effects. Then you have here the ability to stun, and every time there's a burn or a stun, Deidara will do defense down, plus ability to stun again, and he gives crit damage up to every single character in here. He's almost invaluable, guys. In PvP, PvE, he's still one of the best buff characters in the game. And the good thing about his crit damage is if he dies, it doesn't turn off. It stays on because it's rest of the battle, so it doesn't matter if you have him on the team any longer or not. Everyone will still benefit from that crit damage. So that's what he's there for. And then lastly, Sasori down here, who's probably one of the best nukers for a D unit, especially with AoE, has some of the best status effects in terms of, has some of the best debuffs and buffs. He gives you status effect rate up and gives you status suppression. So you can stun more, but you also get stunned less. So Sasori is almost a key element to this as well too, and he also does all of his debuffs based off of the burn and the stun that are caused by these 2 here. So this team here is really meant to disturb the enemy more than anything else, okay? So again, we have the nukes on top. We have single target nukes on top with 1 AoE nuke, okay? And then we have the AoE nuke with 1 debuffer down here. He also does chakra down too, so that kind of makes it useful. And then of course down here we have the disturb team, essentially. Pretty much cause as much status effects as you can plus stun, and then just try to nuke them down slowly and peg them out. So this is the Akatsuki team that I put together for you guys. Now, a couple notable things you guys could add to this. For PvP, he's not as viable only because you don't control the enemy, but you don't control your actual actions. But Kisame is actually would be really good here as well too. He does a lot of chakra down, and he does debuffs as well too. Chakra down is really useful, especially if you're faster than your opponent, if only if you control the character though, right? That's kind of where the problem stems. He also gives chakra every time he does chakra down, so Kisame can actually be a really good unit to have for your PvE team when doing things like Abyss, right? Now, not as good in FG, but Abyss, he actually has a little bit of use. And then, of course, Hidan would have been fantastic here as well, too, as a nuke tank, but I didn't have room for him, plus he's not built up that well, but he also does boost a lot of A units powers. He's there to nuke and give you buffs for A units. As you can see here, though, I only have 1, 2, 3 A units, the rest are mostly T. T heavy, actually, in comparison to and just 1D. So he kind of wasn't a good fit for this team. And then lastly, you have Conan as well, too, which I don't actually think I have built up that much. Where is she? Let's find her real quick. There she is. Now, she's primarily there for DRR down, AoE version plus a regular one, but I have Toby for that already, right? And I have Sasori who have it on their trait, so she kind of doesn't fit the mold here. She's really there also for the Akatsuki tribe, which I'm not going to be doing. So, with that being said, guys, that's the team. Let's go into it. As you can see, some of them are under-leveled. So I'll show you the fight here, at least one of them, and you guys can kind of see how they performed against. Now I'm only fighting Luck because I need the points obviously to hit first place, right? I only done 2 fights so far, as you can see, 3 out of 5. We're gonna go ahead and show you the first fight that I did with him. Shout out to Luck. He's unfortunately got the highest power. Some other folks, you know, I've been fighting other people too, but I'm trying to hit my first place rank. So the speed here, again, guys, is the biggest factor. It doesn't matter how much he has in terms of power versus me. It's just, if I outspeed you, you're gonna lose. Chances are, right? So this is how it's gonna work out. So there you go. Everyone's doing their S2. Let's see what happens here. Now that disturb section, that energy team is really crazy in terms of debuff. So having a team set up like that is a great idea for you guys if you ever want to run this. And this team here, the AoE team, is actually really good too. Now you could throw Kakazu in here as well if you want to actually have a pure AoE team. As you can see there, guard rate up by Itachi, and then I did my crit damage up by Datara Sublime. So really good units there for that. Now this team here, again, would have normally done a lot more damage if Itachi had survived, but here we are, and as you can see here, did not kill Kakashi. But here, like my Itachi sticks around. Now my Itachi Criminal gave everybody crit rate up, right? Or sorry, not crit rate up, gave them guard rate up. So if that had gone off, I would have actually survived that onslaught right there. But as you see, my Itachi died. But that's okay. So this is where now the damage starts kicking in. So now you're going to see Toby doing his jutsu. It'll hit Gaara really hard because it does a lot more damage to D units. You're going to see hopefully a stun here, I believe. There you go. And damage reduction rate down on Gaara and a burn. And now you're going to see defense down on anyone who has the status effects. So there you go. Defense down on all 3 of them, actually, because they all have burn and a stun. And then now either Sasori will kill them all, there you go, as he did, or he would have done his debuffs. So that team right there is meant to disturb the enemy completely. Now this team, on the other hand, this cell is meant to actually just destroy everything in sight. Pure AoE, right? So let's watch this. Now Sasano, obviously you want to put him first because he gives Itachi gives attack up and crit rate up, so it'll make the next 2 units hit harder. Now again, Sasori was meant to die, the old school SR Sasori, but because he didn't, Datara still gets those buffs, and that's still key. Datara is the key unit here. If more units had died, you'd see bigger damage come from Datara. Right now he's only doing about, I think, 800k per unit. Yeah, so close to that, right? But he would have done closer to 1 million plus if, like, say 3 or 4 units died, and if Sasori had died and done what's his name? If Sasori had done defense down, if he had died as well too. So here you go, Kakazu up. He's gonna do a lot more damage on the 2 units that actually have 50% HP or more. Kakashi will die. There you go. Look at that. See, much better. So you definitely want to put him first, guys. He does a lot more damage because of that. So don't put him last, because you don't want these 2 units here taking away the HP, and then his jutsu ends up being mediocre, right? Make sure you put in Kakazu first always, and let him nuke as hard as he can and take advantage of those higher HP units. So let's see here. This is going to be the end of it, obviously here. But yeah, this is so. Guys, completely viable. Everybody lives in the world with Sai right now, or everybody wants to. And honestly, I will say this: Sai makes everything easier. But if you don't have Sai and you're fighting opponents with Sai or without Sai, just make sure you outspeed. And this team can still be very viable, especially with those power creep units, guys. So if we do get another Pain in as another unit that's a single banner coming in, and he shows up and he's a power creep unit, which he will be, he's going to dominate. So make sure if you love the Akatsuki and you're a huge fan of them, know that it's viable, but you have to have a couple things done. You have to have pretty powerful power creep units. You can have some low units if you want as well too, but you got to outspeed your opponent, and those units that are power creep units have to be pretty strong as well too. So speed, luck, no pun intended there, and power. Those are the three main things obviously that wins arena, and of course team building. Make sure you're set up properly. Like, you don't need a stun in each cell, but if you don't have a stun in each cell, make sure you have enough units that you can wipe a whole cell like I did, right? So that's kind of the idea here, guys. So there you go. Thank you for your submissions, guys. That 4K sub thing meant the world to me. We're going to 5 soon, and I'm going to be doing a big giveaway then. So please, guys, continue doing what you're doing. Keep sending me your comments. I'm going to keep providing you guys some content, whatever you guys are looking for. I did put a poll out recently, and right now the winning 3 of the polls. One was Uchiha versus Uzumaki, and the second one was the Sharingan users, all Arena Team Sharingan users, or it was full A team, T team, and D team. And it looks like that one is actually winning. So go out there, guys, go to the poll, do your votes, and I will provide you guys what you're looking for. While there's a quiet time, I can do these kind of things for you, and then we're going to go ahead and move on to the next banner review when it comes out, and hopefully some more content before the 1-year anniversary. Alright, guys, again, thank you so much for your support. This is Pain. Have a wonderful day, everyone.